Is your business dead as a doornail or ready to supersize? Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, and our idiom or expression for today is dead as a doornail. Now, dead as a doornail is one of those idioms or expressions that's been around since it was used in a book in the early 1300s, or actually the mid 1300s. Now, anyway, mid or early 1300s, it's been around for a really long time. Charles Dickens used it in about the mid 1800s in, of course, A Christmas Carol, when he had Marley appearing in the door knocker. Now, a doornail is actually the plate behind the door knocker. If you've seen door knockers, I grew up in a house that had a door knocker on it where the knocker banged against what's called the doornail, which is what it pounded against. And maybe the expression came from people banging against it so much that it actually wore out and had to be replaced. I'm trying to think, I don't think we ever had to replace our door nail. It could also be used to describe the square, big-headed nails that are used in doors and indoor manufacturing. Dead as a doornail also is an alliteration, so the D's in dead as a doornail helped it to catch on, as did dead as a dodo, an extinct bird. The expression dead as a dodo is another alliteration that's been popular for hundreds of years. So, what does dead as a doornail mean? It means something is hopeless or over. It means that a project is dead. It's not going to succeed. It means that our business is in major trouble and struggling and is probably not going to succeed. So how do we know when things are over? How do we know when things are dead as a doornail? I have used this expression my entire life. That when I was describing something that was failing or not going to work or I wasn't hopeful about, I would say, oh, that project's dead as a doornail, or that idea is dead as a doornail. That in journalism, we would say that article idea is dead as a doornail. It's not going to happen, which meant it's not going to happen. We're not going to see it happen. So what does this mean to our businesses? How do we know if our business is declining or if it's going in the direction that we want it to go and we want to grow and supersize and build on that business? Right now is a really volatile time for everyone, in the world, especially with respect to our businesses, because there's been so much change due to the COVID-19 pandemic. It's impacted things in ways that we never, ever could have anticipated. As much as we like to have contingency plans in the business world and backup plans, very few, if any, of our backup plans actually took into account the possibility of a global pandemic. Should they have? Maybe, but they didn't in most circumstances, so we have to figure it out as we go along. So how do we know when it's over? How do we know if our business is over or if we need to pivot and transition and change, which we're doing all the time anyway, in a big way, or if we want to just throw in the towel and quit? How do we decide? How do we know when something is worth fighting for and when something is worth saying bye-bye to? Basically, it's based on how do you feel about it? How do you want things to work out? Because any situation can be turned around. Any situation can be turned into whatever we want it to if we believe in ourselves and our ability to pull it out and make it happen. Things change all the time. Just think of all the fashions and the things that are out of style. We might say that somebody that's wearing something old-fashioned is, dead as a doornail. That those, go-go boots and what were they called? Those big giant pants, palazzo pants. Those are dead as a doornail. Yet with fashion, like anything else, it tends to cycle back through over and over again. A lot of the styles that we wear today are styles that we wore decades ago that have just been updated and transitioned a little bit. So fashion is one of those things that kind of tends to repeat itself, a lot like history. And so we might think something's out of date today or dead as a doornail, yet boom, before you know it, it's resurrected. The same can be true of our businesses. Often, literally, death is something that triggers our organizations to go through a huge transformation and a huge transition. And if we don't have a legacy, if we don't have a contingency plan, if we don't have a continuity plan in place for our businesses as we're growing them, often if we were getting an accident or to die, heaven forbid, our businesses would be defunct. They would be dead as a doornail, just like us. How do I know? Almost happened to me about 10 years ago. I had a sudden cardiac arrest, and fortunately for me, I had people in place and systems in place that could continue that business while I was in a coma in the hospital recovering from that cardiac event. And luckily, I did recover, and we did pick things up, and we did do things but that could have been the absolute positive end of that particular business. It wasn't. Went on for another 10 or another 7 years before I transitioned out of it as part of my divorce. So dead as a doornail. Would love to know your experience with this particular idiom. Have you ever used it? I have absolutely, positively, totally used it on myself and on my kids when they wanted to do something, and I said, yeah, that idea is dead as a doornail, meaning it is never going to happen. So you can ask me 1,000 times, but once I say no to a project like that and say it's dead as a doornail, it's not going to happen. Probably use the idiom and the expression more since technology has become a bigger part of our lives with respect to dead batteries. I remember my kids would need new batteries for their remotes and for their games and for their like Xbox remote control, and they'd say, the batteries are dead as a doornail, Mom, I need batteries. And so sometimes it's been an idiom and an expression that's been a part of my life and my family and our culture. So I'm just curious if that's been a big part of other people's lives as well. So our idiom for today, and I guess the bottom line message is it's entirely up to you when and if your organization, your business, the baby you're building is dead as a doornail or not. People can tell you, outside forces can try to shut you down and prevent you from creating and showing up in the world, but only you can go along with that and decide, hey, this is dead. The government shut my business down for 4 months, therefore we're dead in the water. No, only if you choose to be. There's always opportunities and alternatives and ways to do things differently. Maybe it's totally different than you were before. Maybe you decide to get involved in a totally different business or go a totally different direction with your products and services in the future. But it's not over until you say it's over. I guess that's my position. That's it. Go out and have an absolutely amazing day. I will be with you tomorrow with another interesting idiom. What does it mean? Where does it come from? And how might you use it in your life and your business right now? Take care.